She stepped into the spotlight without warning, an unexpected silhouette against the velvet curtain that sent a murmur rippling through the auditorium. One moment the marquee gleamed "Company Night" in golden letters. The next, the band's final chord of "Good Night, New York," hung frozen as Bette Midler, age 79, burst forth like a comet. Gasps echoed, followed by roaring applause so thunderous it drowned the orchestra. There was no preamble, no whisper of rehearsal. She simply appeared in sequined blue, her hair a cascading halo of silver, her smile radiant as neon. For an audience primed for a standard farewell medley, this surprise was nothing short of theatrical rebellion. It all began weeks earlier on a frigid March morning when the producers of A Man of No Importance gathered in a smoke-filled writer's room to discuss closing night plans. Tickets had nearly sold out, but attendance dipped in later performances, a fate many midlife Broadway revivals suffer. Their original plan, a modest curtain call, a thank you note from the lead actor, and a few confetti cannons. Then their agent slid into the room, phone pressed to her ear, voice crackling. "Hold everything. I have an offer from Bette herself. She wants to crash closing night." Silence fell. Half the team assumed it was a prank. But Bette Midler, the divine Miss M, had been honing her theater chops for decades. When she makes an entrance, the world takes notice. Her relationship with Broadway began back in 1968 when a young Bette, fresh off summer stock in Atlantic City, was scouted by Jerry Herman for a nascent revival of Hello, Dolly. She declined to headline, insisting she needed to guard her voice and image, but her demo tape of "It Only Takes a Moment" circulated in Manhattan like contraband. Producers called her a one-woman hurricane, half in awe, half in fear. That hurricane matured into a storm of chart-topping records, Oscar nominations, and club tours. Yet in all her triumphs, rotund wigs in the rose, campy gowns and beaches, she never officially walked a Broadway stage until 2017's Hello, Dolly revival, at age 72, stepping in for a stricken Billy, a moment that became its own legend. So when rumors whispered that Midler coveted one more surprise, a cameo poised to eclipse every closing night in memory, the show's director, Elaine Murphy, sent an urgent memo. Is she serious? The answer arrived via a handwritten note sealed in a white envelope. No email, no text. Inside, in Betty's own looping script, "Let's give them something to talk about." Producers scrambled. They had to source a custom tuxedo dress, commission new sheet music for an unreleased ballad, coordinate union contracts for the star cameo, all while keeping it secret from the cast, whose credulity wavered until mid-morning tech week, when stagehands buzzed. "Betty's on her way." Backstage, the ensemble buzzed like a beehive on PVC. When she finally arrived, she sauntered in wearing mirrored aviators and greeted stagehands by their first names. "I know every one of you," she said with a conspiratorial wink. "Let's make magic." Rehearsals took place in the cavernous rehearsal hall, far from prying eyes. Underfoot, the dusty floor bore graffiti from previous productions, names scrawled in chalk. Patti LuPone was here. Neil Patrick Harris owns this spot. Now, beneath those faded scribbles, Bette Midler blocked her first moves for a new song called "Never Say Goodbye," a hushed torch ballad rumored to reference her tumultuous tenure on Broadway. But it wasn't all fun and giggles. Midler insisted on live orchestration, refusing to lip-sync over canned tracks. She demanded that her microphone be mixed in separately so her voice could float above the narrative, as she said. Sound designers sweated, recalibrating levels to prevent feedback. The dress took dozens of fittings. Sequins had to catch the footlights just so, without blinding the actor across the stage. One night, a technician tested the spotlight's curve and accidentally sent a blinding beam searing into the prompter's box, enough to stop a rehearsal cold. "That's the price we pay for perfection," Bette shrugged when the tech emerged, blinking. Her presence altered the atmosphere. Lead actor Freddie Conroy, playing the Irish Lothario who inspired the play's protagonist, admitted later he felt like a teenage groupie in her presence. Choreographer Marcus Lee had to reshape the final curtain choreography to accommodate her trademark shimmy, carving out a Fifth Avenue for Midler's improvisational flair. He recalls nervously scribbling new floor patterns until he realized, when Bette lands, you follow her light. Then came closing night. The audience arrived believing they'd see a farewell from the cast, maybe a few bows, perhaps a selfie-style curtain call filmed for social media. Instead, the stage manager's voice crackled over the comm. "Places, please." The band launched the closing overture. On stage, the cast filed out, bows in unison, until a tap on the shoulder signaled the stranger in sequence. A collective intake of breath as Bette Midler stepped between the two leads, arms raised skyward. She launched into "Never Say Goodbye," her voice a velvety cascade that tamed the auditorium like a purring cat. At the line, "I'll see you in the limelight, darling," she paused, raised her brows, and the crowd erupted. Backstage celebrations rolled into the theater's private lounges, where Betty's entourage and the company mingled amid laughter, clinking glasses, and whispered disbelief. Champagne bottles popped as stylists toasted in sequin gowns, and stagehands tried to keep up with the torrent of congratulations pouring in. Producers circulated a printed program's sticky pages, trying to add Betty's name by hand, to no avail. Meanwhile, the smell of fresh coffee drifted from catering tables, staging a second curtain call of its own. Donuts dusted with sugar, platters of smoked salmon, and trays of tiny quiches that nobody touched until minutes before sunrise. Between bites of cold asparagus tart, directors and writers replayed the night's beats. Elaine Murphy, the show's director, found a quiet corner to FaceTime her children, her voice trembling as she described Betty's entrance. "You have no idea how she lit up that stage," she whispered, watching her son's eyes widen through the phone screen. Half a floor below, costume supervisor Anna Morales rifled through sketches, plotting how to adapt the stolen moment look into next season's official wardrobe catalog. "This is couture theater gold," she said, tracing the gown's glittering seams with her fingertip as if they were rare gemstones. Outside, paparazzi and eager fans camped under arched doorways, phones held high like lances. Shouts of "Bet, Bet" echoed through Midtown Manhattan's chill as they snapped blurry, heart-pounding images of her exit. 7 black cars idled curbside, headlights flaring, as Bette slipped from her dressing room in an oversized coat and dark sunglasses. She paused to sign a poster board for a teenage fan, then wove through the crowd with a mischievous grin. "Sorry, darlings," she called out, her voice faint behind tinted lenses. "But I had to vanish into the night." That evening, an after-party unfolded at an intimate uptown club, where a velvet rope separated Broadway elites from the curious few who splurged on VIP passes. A quartet played a swinging arrangement of "Do You Want to Dance?" as Bette emerged on stage barefoot, draped in a silk shawl. She grabbed the microphone stand and sang impromptu, her voice velvety, jubilant, unfettered by script or score. Actors from other shows gathered at the footlights, mouths agape as she riffed through lyrics no one recognized, dancing a step reminiscent of her Midnight in Paris days. Somewhere between nostalgia and reinvention, she reminded everyone that age is merely a number, and deadlines are meant to be broken. Backstage at the club, she found a line of cast mates from a nearby revival of My Fair Lady. Laura Bishop, playing Eliza, approached with teary eyes and a stack of playbills. "I didn't think I'd ever see you live again," Bishop whispered, pressing a playbill into Betty's hand. Midler signed it with a flourish, adding, "To Laura, may your closet be half as fabulous as your voice." The two shared a laugh over stories of tap shoes that squealed like rodents and wigs that weighed more than history itself. Then Bishop pulled her aside and asked the question on everyone's mind. "Will you ever be back on stage for real? Like nightly?" Bette winked, spinning a crystal glass between nimble fingers. "Honey," she said, "I'll be back when Broadway needs me most." Word of the cameo reached Pike Place market-style fame by dawn. Theater bloggers posted GIFs of Betty's shimmy down the aisle. TikTokers choreographed dances to the viral clip of her thunderous entrance. And even morning radio hosts played a bootleg snatch of her surprise number. Ticket sellers reported a 300% spike in app downloads for A Man of No Importance, with hundreds of hopefuls refreshing their screens in a frenzy. Overnight, the show's limited engagement flirted with extension, an idea that once seemed laughable. Yet the producers, emboldened by public demand, drafted tentative memos proposing a 3-week extension, subject to Betty's availability that in rehearsal halls across the city. Understudies and swing performers studied the viral footage with reverence. One chorus member, Alicia Chan, practiced Betty's precise head tilt and extended pinky as if decoding an ancient ritual. "I want to capture that last-second sparkle in her eye," Chan explained between pirouettes, "and surprise our own audience. What better lore to pass down?" Nearby, a dance captain sketched flashcards illustrating Betty's signature hip roll, distributing them with the warning, "Do not lose these. They are Broadway voodoo." Meanwhile, journalists dug for interviews, calling every actor within a 10-block radius. Critics reflected on their own career-defining moments, when Patti LuPone took over for Carol Burnett, or when Glenn Close belted out "Send in the Clowns" in hideous leg warmers. But none eclipsed the whimsy of a 79-year-old icon, unannounced, rewriting the script of what was possible at any age. Opinion pieces appeared under headlines like "Why the Divine Miss M is Broadway's Forever Muse" and "The Art of the Unscheduled Star Drop." Academics dusted off dissertations on diva entrances, adding footnotes about spontaneity and audience complicity in the alchemy of live theater. Back at the theater offices, phone lines rang off the hook. Scripts flew off shelves as staffers rushed to call investors, hoping to leverage the windfall. Under neon exit signs, the Stage Directors and Choreographers Society debated whether Betty's surprise warranted a change in union rules around guest appearances, arguing that such moments are the lifeblood of theater, but also a logistical nightmare. Meanwhile, a backstage assistant discovered a hastily scribbled note in the callboard margins. "Insert bet consider extension." Next to it, someone added in smudged pencil, "God, please." As the sun rose on a new day, one truth shone brighter than any marquee. Bette Midler's age was no limit, but a bridge between generations. She had reminded a sold-out crowd that Broadway's heart beats strongest when its most unpredictable moments refuse to fit any schedule. And in doing so, she had stunned her fans out of complacency, proving that the greatest surprise of all is the one you never see coming. Negotiations to extend the run began barely hours after the final blackout. By dawn, the producers had convened a hastily assembled conference call with Betty's manager, the theater owner, and the marketing team. Phones rang off the hook as uniformed house managers fielded calls from bleary-eyed fans desperate for return engagements. Text threads buzzed. "Can we really see her do it again? Is Bette free next week? Someone must crash the matinee." Meanwhile, the show's social media channels erupted. Instagram booms of video clips surged, TikTok duets multiplied by the minute, and Twitter polls gauged fan appetite for an encore. The hashtag Divine Miss Encore trended within 45 minutes, triggering panic among ticket resale bots and profit projections among execs. By mid-morning, the marketing director pitched a bold idea: turn the surprise cameo into a full Legend of the Night engagement, featuring rotating guest stars alongside Bette. They pictured Elaine Stritch returning for one evening, Carol Channing another, and perhaps Liza Minnelli rounding out a Triple Crown week. The suggestion hung in the air like a damp curtain until someone dared whisper, "What if Bette headlines all of them?" Silence followed. No one dared approach the notion until Bette herself texted, "Let's talk." In her own suite at the Plaza, she sat at an antique writing desk, reading an email drafted for her by a trusted aide. It detailed ticket surges, media frenzy, and potential revenue that could underwrite theater scholarships. She tapped out a single line, schedule permitting, "I'm in," and hit send. Instantly, the revival of A Man of No Importance shifted from charming flop to must-see event of the season. Rehearsals resumed that afternoon, but nothing was routine anymore. The ensemble felt electric, as if caught in the wake of a comet. Choreographer Marcus Lee rewrote the final bows to spotlight each performer alongside Betty's signature wave. Set dressers added extra ropes of Edison bulbs to the proscenium to frame her silhouette, while costume techs folded her sequin dress lovingly into a satin-lined case, polishing every crystal before each performance. Nothing was too small. Her hair products had to be vegan, the makeup brushes cruelty-free, the stage floor wax hypoallergenic. A memo circulated, "Divine-level protocol." Meanwhile, the press descended like migrating birds. The New York Times dispatched a culture reporter who infiltrated the orchestra pit disguised as an usher. She returned with notes on audience tears, standing ovations, and one elderly gentleman who clapped so fiercely he cracked 3 wooden slats on his seat. Variety snagged a photo of Bette sipping chamomile backstage, her trademark smile softened by exhaustion. Entertainment Weekly secured an exclusive interview in which Bette mused, "I'm living proof that art doesn't retire." Fans wrote open letters on community boards, sharing travel plans. One couple chartered a plane from Minneapolis. Another family saved up from substitute teaching gigs to surprise their grandmother on her 85th birthday. Social accounts buzzed with snapshots of hotel room playlists, Bet by Me, Divine Classics, and Broadway's best comebacks. Sellers on Etsy began hawking custom playbills emblazoned with Betty's name in Art Deco fonts, while fan-made apparel read slogans like "Never Say Goodbye to Bette" and "Booked for Bette." Amid the frenzy, a quieter storyline unfolded backstage, Betty's charitable pledge. Unbeknownst to most, she had agreed to donate a portion of every ticket sold above the original run's average to the Actors Fund. A green light in the budget meeting signaled that an extra show meant thousands of dollars for emergency medical grants, tuition scholarships, and retirement support for theater workers. When word leaked, fans didn't just buy tickets. They raced to fill the house for the cause. A group of high school drama students even organized a flash mob fundraiser in Times Square, donning t-shirts that read "Divine Miss Does Good." By the third night of the extended engagement, Betty's stamina became the headline. Journalists noted the sparkle in her eyes, undimmed by back-to-back performances. Marie Claire described her encore of Sacrifice as a display of vocal fireworks, while The Guardian observed that her entrance still carried the elemental force of a tidal wave. In one performance, a stray stagehand forgot to cue a light, leaving Bette in shadow as she sung the opening bars. Without missing a beat, she halted mid-lyric, quipped, "Don't worry, defying stagecraft is my specialty," and launched into an impromptu spotlight tap dance, earning laughter and cheers. As the extended run approached its halfway point, talk shifted to legacy. Theater historians assembled panel discussions on Bette Midler and the power of surprise, exploring how one unannounced appearance could recast an entire season. University courses punctuated their syllabi with her cameo, analyzing audience reaction studies and social media sentiment analysis. A Broadway concierge confessed that she had never seen such a frenzy. People are camping out again. Backstage camaraderie reached new heights. Cast members swapped anecdotal souvenirs. Freddie Conroy pressed a scrap of her silver ribbon into his script. Alicia Chan wrapped a lock of Betty's sequins in tissue, intending to stitch it into her rehearsal skirt. Even veterans who once scoffed at pop stars on stage confessed that Midler's presence reignited their own passion. One chorus member, rookie and Broadway hopeful, said between tears, "I came here to see a favorite star. I stayed because I rediscovered why I love the theater." Tonight's performance promises another surprise. Reservations are sold out weeks in advance, and whispers circulate that Bette has another secret number tucked away, perhaps a duet with a surprise guest or a snippet from her disco era. The only certainty is uncertainty itself, and the shared thrill of knowing that, at 79, she still commands the stage with the unpredictability of a live wire. When the announcement came that the engagement would stretch into a second week, the theater world collectively held its breath. Overnight, ticket lines snaked around the block, and hotel lobbies buzzed. The marketing team redesigned posters, adding a gold banner proclaiming "extended by popular demand." Yet what truly sold out seats was the promise of another unscheduled moment, a hush that falls before Midler steps into view. Fans plotted who could join them in that fleeting instant of revelation. Inside the theater, the mood shifted from anticipation to reverence. House lights dimmed earlier than scheduled, creating a momentary twilight that invited collective wonder. A hush fell as the orchestra tuned, breaths mingling in the semi-dark. On stage, the set glimmered under freshly tuned spotlights that gleamed like stars. Cast members stole glances at the wings, listening intently for the quiet scuff of sequins. Every whisper is shared among conspirators. This communal awareness, woven through shared anticipation, became the true heartbeat of the performance. Then, in a heartbeat, the overture resolved, and the familiar strains of "Good Night, New York" gave way to a single, crystal-clear piano note. The audience knew before their eyes could confirm. Midler had arrived. She floated into the beam, auburn hair haloed by soft reveal lights, and opened her arms as if to embrace the entire house. Even veteran attendees found themselves wiping tears, caught in that effortless moment when performer and patron become co-conspirators. She hadn't spoken a word, yet the silence itself spoke volumes about possibility. A.S. Midler launched into her second surprise number, a reimagined version of Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy. The young ensemble dancers circled her like planets around a blazing sun. She fed off their energy, her footwork sharp, her smile radiant, as she invited them into an improvised call and response. Every time she belted, he was a famous trumpet man in the army. She spun, and confetti cannons exploded overhead in perfect sync. From the stalls to the balconies, the crowd roared in unison, the theater pulsing with a joyous catharsis, like music and memory entwining. Backstage, the transformation staff worked. Dressers flitted beneath racks of costumes, ensuring each sequin lay straight before Midler's next entrance. The stage manager monitored timing with precision, feeding cues through her headset. 10 seconds to sparkle, she murmured, and under that countdown, tension crackled. The sudden hush before each reveal became as dramatic as the songs themselves. In those 10-second limbos, the audience and cast alike seemed to share a moment of collective suspension. Midler's vow to give back transformed each ticket into a symbol of hope. At intermissions, screens lit up with updates on the actors' fund donation totals, and the applause between acts grew louder in light of the cause. Fans sensed they were not just partaking in entertainment, they were participants in an unspoken social contract. Every cheer echoed through the fund's coffers, every standing ovation into medical grants and housing support for aging actors. The applause, as much as Midler's voice, became the currency of collective goodwill. Throughout this extended run, whispered rumors of next-level surprises circulated nightly. Was she planning a duet with a secret partner? Would she tap out a new routine no one had ever witnessed? Theater-goers speculated in post-show gatherings, in wine bars and late-night diners, trading blurred video clips and hush theories. The effect was electric community building, complete strangers bound by shared expectation and the delicious possibility of witnessing something unrepeatable. On the final night of the extension announcement, Bette appeared one last time during the curtain call, stepping forward to deliver a brief, heartfelt speech. Her voice, warm and resonant, carried across the hushed auditorium. "Thank you for allowing me to surprise you," she said, her eyes glistening. "But more importantly, thank you for making a difference beyond these walls." She paused, ensuring each word landed with gravity, then spread her arms wide in an embrace that felt intimate despite the crowd of thousands. The standing ovation that followed thundered through the theater as the final curtain descended, sealing her legacy in the annals of Broadway history. Now, at 79, Bette Midler redefined what surprise can mean on a Broadway stage. She taught us that magic isn't a function of youth or predictability, but of fearlessness in performance and generosity of spirit. And in doing so, she reminded her fans why the theater remains the last bastion of collective wonder, where a single unannounced moment can set an entire city aflame with possibility. The buzz outside the theater never truly faded. As the extended run crept into its third week, late-night diners around Times Square reported surges in patrons wearing sparkly scarves and quoting Midler's surprise lyrics. Taxi drivers chuckled as passengers hummed "Never Say Goodbye" in the back seat. Brick-and-mortar shops sold out of souvenir playbills the moment doors opened each morning. Yet for Bette Midler, the real victory was watching the actors' fund total climb higher every night. At intermission, the lobby monitors flashed updated donation tallies, small green bars inching upward. Each whisper of applause turned into tangible aid for theater families in crisis. She confessed afterward that those bright numbers moved her more than any standing ovation. Every performance held a hint of evolution. One evening, she swapped a line in Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy, slipping in a playful reference to a local deli she adored. The audience roared with recognition, the moment diffusing nerves and transforming the proscenium into a conversation rather than a one-way spotlight. On another night, the orchestra introduced a sudden timpani roll behind her final note, prompting Midler to deliver an impromptu bow that stretched a full 10 seconds longer than planned. The hush that followed was as electric as any exultant cheer. These tiny divergences underscored that live theater thrives on unpredictable chemistry, and that every tick of the clock offered a fresh opportunity to rewrite the script of possibility. Meanwhile, the media narrative shifted from Broadway star surprise to cultural phenomenon. Morning shows replayed grainy footage of her first entrance, commentators dissecting the timing, costuming, and the way she paused mid-lyric to let the audience catch its breath. Podcasts debated whether any production in history had generated such fervor for an unbilled cameo. One cultural critic wrote that Midler's appearances had become a phenomenon akin to viral art installations, fleeting, participatory, and loaded with communal ownership. A feature in The Atlantic later argued that her pops-up belonged to a new category of performance art, one that collapsed the barrier between celebrity and spectator, turning each ticket holder into an active witness of a shared secret. Behind the curtain, Bette continued her own backstage traditions. Each night, she tucked tiny gift boxes beneath the principal lead's dressing room mirrors, handwritten notes wrapped around miniature brass bugles, or tiny glittering compacts engraved with a single word, "Brava." She listened intently as understudies delivered their versions of her signature shimmy, offering pointers on rhythm and attitude. To one young swing who confessed stage fright after witnessing Midler's magnetic aura, Bette leaned close and whispered, "The trick is simple. Pretend this is your living room and you're welcoming old friends." That anecdote alone became hallway lore, spurring a wave of performers to brave open mic nights in their own apartments, experimenting with presence and vulnerability. Critics and historians have already begun to catalog the cameo's impact. A symposium at Juilliard dissected audience engagement data to argue that Midler's spells of spontaneity redefined traditional notions of fourth wall etiquette. A retrospective in American Theater magazine highlighted how her unannounced numbers reset the economics of limited engagements, turning what might have been a modest revival into a citywide event. Legend now says that some fans bought return tickets just to study the subtle changes in each performance, as though hunting for a missing puzzle piece that only Bette could deliver. In interviews, leading theater artists described traveling hours just to witness how one artist could harmonize surprise and professionalism without missing a beat. As the final week of her extended engagement approached, Bette took a quiet moment to reflect in the empty theater. She sat center stage long after midnight, the seats shrouded in darkness, the proscenium bathed in a lone hush. She traced the lines of wood grain beneath her fingertips and imagined all the footsteps, hers and countless others, that had danced across this floor. She thought of audiences clutching programs as if they were talismans, and of strangers whose eyes met in the soft glow of the aisles, united in wonder. In that sacred stillness, she realized the answer to every question critics asked. That surprise, at its core, isn't a marketing gimmick, but an invitation to reawaken our collective capacity for astonishment. Tonight will be the last chance to witness her unannounced encore. But even after the curtain falls, the echo of her entrance will linger in tales whispered outside stage doors and in the quiet thrill of discovery that any of us might one day glimpse greatness unannounced. At 79, Bette Midler's surprise appearance became a gift not only to her fans, but to everyone who believes that the theater's true magic lies in its capacity to transform routine into revelation. At 8 o'clock on the final night, the house lights dimmed for the last time. A hush descended that felt thicker than velvet. Cast members felt it radiate through the planks beneath their feet. Bette Midler strode out with the confidence of someone who knows she has rewired the very DNA of the theater. She paused at center stage, letting the silence swell, then raised her arms as if releasing confetti of light. In that moment, every performer, every stagehand, every usher became part of her curtain call. She lifted a simple black microphone, its stand propped on a gleaming silver base she had requested for this finale. Then, without orchestra cues, she began to sing a tender new ballad, Gone But Not Forgotten. Its melody born from personal letters she wrote to friends lost to time. Each lyric carried the weight of decades. Memories of smoky dinner parties, midnight drives to strip clubs, days spent dismantling the notion that women her age should stay backstage. Her voice soared, trembling like a leaf in a storm, then settled into a warm embrace. The audience wept openly. Strangers locked eyes as tears rolled down cheeks, their shoulders rising and falling in shared release. No one spoke. Some held one hand over a heart. Others extended both arms as if trying to catch her voice as it fell back into darkness. Her song ended on a quiet note that faded into the throb of thousands of silent breaths. The only sound was a single dropped earpiece rolling across the stage floor, reminding everyone that perfection was never Betty's goal. Connection was. Backstage, the company listened through the curtain as the final chords died away. Lead actor Freddie Conroy, usually reserved about his own emotions, barely stifled a sob behind a flurry of sequined lining. The dancers melted into an unplanned circle, arms around one another, replicating a family formed by improvisation. Costumers wept in dressing rooms, holding sequins and wishing they could somehow staple each precious stone to their own skin. In that small universe, a 9-week revival felt like a lifetime of shared triumph and transformation. When the curtain call finally arrived, Bette returned with the entire ensemble, standing at the front of the stage with hands clasped. She addressed the crowd in her familiar, gentle cadence. "Darling friends," she began, voice catching, "you've made magic with me. Tonight is our last dance, but it isn't goodbye." She paused, surveying every row, every balcony. "Carry this spark forward. Surprise someone you love. And remember, every encore of life happens when we dare to crash the closing night of our own expectations." Critics wasted no time dissecting the final performance. Headlines praised her poetic exit and lauded the ballad as a song for our age. Broadway rumor mills swirled with talk that record labels had already freighted the new tune to streaming platforms. Social media erupted around clips of Midler's subtle hair flip and the quiver of her lower lip at the line, "I'm still here." Fan accounts posted extended reactions, edited montages, and personal testimonials, fueling online communities devoted to celebrating this singular event. In the quiet after the storm, Bette retreated to her suite in the Waldorf, where she found a stack of handwritten farewell notes from cast and crew. Each card folded stories of shared coffees before dawn and secret jokes whispered behind props. She sorted them into a vintage jewelry box, then held it close and closed her eyes. In the stillness, she heard once more the echo of applause, the soft footfalls of a tap beat, and remembered why she stepped onto that stage in the first place: to remind everyone that art is a living thing. Weeks later, the theater reopened without her name on the marquee, but its walls still hummed with memory. Audience members left lipstick kisses on seats, stenciled, "I was here to see Bette," in fading chalk near the wings. Town tours rerouted to include the historic stage door where she vanished at the end of the first surprise. And in small coffee shops around the district, actors rehearsed secret cameos of their own, scripts folded into palettes of possibility. Her legacy had become a blueprint for anyone who dared to disrupt routine and expectation.